So Dan, I mean, come on, Dish. I mean, when we've had our dinners, when we've had our conversations, I've heard a little bit about your, I don't want to say misguided, but your mischievous childhood as it relates to cars or young manhood. So now's the time, unless you're worried about a statute of limitations doesn't run out, the cops will come after you or some relative being mad at you.
Oh, man, I can do all of the above in like one story, I bet. This is my absolute favorite one. This was in my second Trans Am. I was in college. I was working at the Corvette shop, and I had a friend who's a real delinquent just like me named Ricky. He was one of the mechanics there, and we had like just finished putting my car back together. We had done like a cam and some bolt-on mods to the car. Didn't have a plate. The car was not insured, but I was in a repair shop, so I borrowed my boss Ron's plate. It was around probably 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm right outside of the college campus, and the college police. I was already on a first name basis with them by this point, so I had no reservation about this driving right down Main Street in the cart at 3 o'clock in the morning. No exhaust on it, just shooting flames out the sides of it. And we went for a high-speed test, which I'm sure you know all about those. It's when you go on one of the straightest roads you can find and just see how fast you can go. So I got up to about 110 before I saw blue and red lights behind me. And like an idiot, I don't mean like an idiot, like a responsible human person, I pulled over. I wasn't going to get away with it. I have been making a lot of mistakes that night, so I figured I should pay the piper. I got pulled over, and they're throwing the book at me. They're pissed. They pulled me out of the car. They pulled my friend out of the car, which I'd never seen that before. They pulled us both out of the car. They're interrogating us separately, and then finally, one of the officers comes up to me and he just says, "All right, so where does this plate come from? We're looking at this plate. We're running this plate, and it comes back to an auto restoration. Did you guys steal this car from a dealership?" I go, no, we're employees of that dealership. And the guy just goes, bullshit, just pissed off, spitting in my face. He's furious. And I go, no, this is my boss's plate. He goes, there's no way you're that stupid, Mondello, to have pulled a plate off of one of your boss's cars and then driven it fast down the middle of the college campus. There's no way that happens. So he calls my boss and he goes, all right, so, Mr. Bunnell? Yeah, this is Agent Murphy from Fitchburg State Police Unit or whatever it was. Do you know a Dan Mondello? And I can hear my boss in the background go, no. And the phone goes quiet. So that was one of the nights that I spent in solitary confinement thinking about my mistakes. But ultimately I didn't go to jail, so I would call it a win.
How did you reconcile that in the long term? Like, because your boss had to say he was your boss.
So, I wake up, you don't sleep when you're in, no, I wasn't incarcerated. I think I was in protective custody. They didn't actually arrest me. I don't think I was just in protective custody, but you don't sleep well in these kinds of environments. So I remember when they finally gave me back my possessions, my phone, I texted my boss and I said the only thing I could think to say, which is, do I still have a job? And a couple hours later, he said, that depends. How soon you're going to be in here? And I said, I'll be in there as soon as classes were over. He already knew I wasn't going to classes on Friday. So I show up around 2 o'clock, and he has like the entire like company just like sitting there ready to make fun of me, like ready to laugh in my face. And, they've made fun of me ever since for pulling over. I was the guy who pulled over going 110, not the guy who just kept going and then hit or like crashed or something, which again, I think was a responsible thing to do.
Dan, I want to give you kudos now, so it never has to be questioned, that it was a very responsible thing for you to do, and I'm very proud of you.
Yes, thank you.
That reminds me of that Jeep. So my dad used to let me go to the 7-Eleven for a gallon of milk or something, or to fill the car up, which was, I could always drive around our subdivision when I was like 13, 14.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think at 14, he let me go to the 7-Eleven, but that is just the entrance of the sub and then a couple 100 feet across a 2-lane to the entrance of the parking lot of the 7-Eleven.
It's pretty nice.
So he let me do that.
That's pretty cool.
He let me do that. And I'm needing to turn left into the driveway, so cross the road of the 7-Eleven. and I overshoot it. I just get nervous. I overshoot the driveway. I try to make a little bit of a U-turnish move to get back into the driveway. I can't make it back. I end up driving through a ditch, and I was just thinking, yeah, it's a Jeep. And when I'm down through the ditch, I gun it and I leave. I like either the front tires or all four tires. I jump out of the ditch into the parking lot, scare myself to death, drive to the parking spot at the front of the 7-Eleven, throw it in park, and go in for the whatever, milk. Now when I'm going to the checkout, there's 2 police cars parked behind the Jeep in my parking spot. I'm 14. There's no cell phones. I mean, this.
What'd you do?
This is early 80s, 80-ish, whatever. I waited in there about an hour and a half.
Smart.
Don't come out. Finally, I come out, but of course, they're not going to know who the driver is. And I go to the payphone on the side of the building, on the outside of the building. And I call my house, and I'm going to have someone come pick me up and just leave the Jeep like no one drove it there. And dude, the cops were behind the Jeep like 22 seconds after I parked. I mean, they witnessed it or something. One of them did. So I call the house, and my dad had a girlfriend and a son that lived with us. So sort of a stepmom, Michelle, love her. She answers the phone, and I'm like, she goes, "Where are you?" She says, "I'm at the 7-Eleven. She goes, "For what?" I said, "To get the milk." She goes, "That was like an hour and a half ago." She says, "Are you driving the Jeep?" I says, "Yeah." She goes, "The cops already," my dad was general manager at a golf club in our subdivision. "The cops already called your dad. They already know it's your Jeep." So everybody's waiting. You might as well come out.
Well, they do when you came out.
So I explained, told them I overshot it, told them I didn't know what I was doing. And they let me, what a different era. They let me drive it home.
No.
He goes, "Just go home. Just your dad knows you're already in enough trouble."
Did they follow you at least? Or they just like said, okay.
They followed me for me to cross the 2-lane into the sub, and then that was it.
So they're just like, okay, little boy who should not be driving a Jeep and just jumped in, go home, see ya?
Kinda. I mean, I was in major shit with my dad. I mean, I think they just kind of knew I was in major trouble. Like, what else were they going to do? I mean, like, really, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to say, oh God, my dad was wrath of Khan. Once he started yelling,
say no more.
I wish my dad would hit us. My dad never touched us, but when he would yell for 3 hours, and the language would come, and the screaming, and the spit flying, and the going horse, and I mean, he would do it in easily an hour past when you're already pissed down your leg. Anyway, one of those deals, and I'm sure that I lost privileges to drive the thing for a couple of weeks. But I remember he had a 73 Vet with like no miles, like 60,000 miles on the thing, just a nice original car, red. Because that was like the Ferris Bueller Ferrari. This was like the car nobody touched. The blanket you couldn't eat in the garage, one of these things.
He just wipes it with a diaper. That's all he does.
Yeah, yes. Matter of fact, my dad, and look, I never felt like my dad loved the cars more than us. My dad was a phenomenal father. No question about it, but he loved these cars. But I will say that he left on it to go on a date in that 73 Vet. And my brother and I, who were probably, and the girl living with us is gone, so we're like 16 and 13. We're playing Frisbee out front or playing with the dog. And he's like, "Okay, I'm going on a date." And we're like, "Have fun." And he was back in a half hour in that car, and alone. And we asked him what happened. Now, if you could picture a 73 Vet like that Stingray body, they had the door handle you push down on the top, that little thing. Okay. And the keyhole on the side of the door.
Good old GM keyhole.
He said, "You know how you're supposed to shut the door with the keyhole, not the window, not the paint." He goes, "As soon as I met the girl, I told her how to shut the door."
This has been Jeff Stearns, Connected Through Cars.